Hi everyone, it's Eva Pietrzak here from Abundant Results Coaching, and today I'd love to help out with one of the most common questions that I'm receiving from my community lately. How do I stay calm and how do I stay hopeful and focused on my goals when there is all the fear and chaos happening in Europe? And maybe you are someone who is like myself from Poland or Eastern European country, and you're affected by what's happening in Ukraine and the invasion. And you probably have caught yourself falling into the trap of fear, maybe feeling profound sadness for what's happening in the world, and fear what's going to happen to your family, maybe even yourself. I personally come from southern Poland, about 70 kilometers from the border with Ukraine. And of course, with all the influx of with the war in Ukraine and the influx of Ukrainians into Poland, there's been a lot of fear of what's going to happen. Is there going to be invasion? What like potential war, even on a global scale? And then, of course, there's economic impact. Polish zloty went from like 4-1 to 5-1 in the space of literally a week. And of course, there's a lot of economic worries what's going to happen to us, our families, and the world. So if this subject impacts you, I really want to share from my own experience what tools I found really valuable for me to stay calm, stay sane, and focus on the right things even in the face of this challenge in the world. So first of all, one of the things that came to my mind is the value of calmness of mind. Before I can shift my mind into any type of thinking, if there is lots of chaos and there is lots of negative news outside of me, I've got to bring peace inside. So I can't do that by hustling and dealing and figuring out outside. I've got to go inwards. So my first go-to tool in order to start thinking clearly and sanely about in the face of challenges like this is actually quieten down inside. So my go-to tool is meditation. One of the best meditations that I know that have helped me, especially when I started my business, is Bob Proctor's Abundance Meditation. You can find it on YouTube. And what's really important is to quiet down the chaotic emotions and feelings that are happening, and the thoughts of potential what ifs and when and how and all the things that are causing turbulence inside. What I've learned all over the years of working with this material is I know that my inner state is causing my outside world. So if I'm feeling fearful, if I'm feeling deeply sad and upset, if I'm feeling frustrated or disappointed, and I'm feeling this for a prolonged period of time, then typically I start attracting situations or opportunities or people that put me in the same emotional state. So when I found out about the war in Ukraine, I was actually, and some of you may have seen me and watched me in the training, we were in Tenerife, Spain, in a beautiful opulent villa. I was in the middle of our workshop, and then I started receiving news from my clients, what's happening. And it really took me off guard. And when I went online and I started listening to news, obviously I went into a state of fear. Oh my God, my family lives in Poland. Oh my God, what's going to happen in Europe? Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And when I was in that emotion of fear or worry and upset, I started having other things in my business going sideways and other things that were attracting the same emotions. And so I copped on very quickly, and I realized, hold on, I need to take responsibility of how I'm feeling, because I understand after years of working with this material that I don't want to be attracting more things that are feeling this way. So I went inwards and I meditated, and I, basically created emotions of peace, groundedness, feeling in the flow, trust, and hopefulness. And then what was really interesting, the minute when I started putting myself into that emotional state, and I started noticing little things during the day that were putting me in a similar state. So maybe I would spot a piece of music online that would feel peaceful. Maybe I would have a conversation with some soothing news or hopefulness, going on. And so I started doing this a lot more than usual. I did the same thing at the start of COVID, where, COVID started and there was so much panic and chaos and fear in the world. I did the same process. So I managed my own emotional state first. Now, the second thing is, what are we thinking that might happen? That is very important. So what one of the stories that came to my mind is a story of Viktor Frankl. Viktor Frankl was a Jewish psychiatrist who was locked in concentration camps during Second World War. And he said this: no matter what level of abuse I was experiencing outside, emotional, physical, and psychological, there was one thing that nobody could reach: what I was going to think. And he said, my last freedom was to think what I wanted to think to happen in the future. And so even though he was exposed to so much abuse at all sorts of levels, he in his mind was seeing himself hugging his family and seeing his family again and being released from that place. And guess what happened? He was thinking it, he was emotionalizing it, eventually he was released. He met his family again. He wrote beautiful books and helped millions of people all over the world to think the right thoughts, so that they change basically how they feel and they change their reality. And so what I did, when, let's say, I would be looking at news or I would be speaking to my family, I tend to feel people's emotions. I definitely am at certain level, I'm definitely an empath. And so I purposefully avoid saturating myself with negative news. I ask my partner, my fiance, listen, honey, can you just give me facts so that I stay informed? But I don't want to be looking into the news to kind of see all the fears and what might happen and what might not, that might invoke negative emotion in me, that will put me in a state of sadness or fear for a prolonged period of time. So whenever I caught myself, because obviously this happened, first when I learned about it, my clients were, really, really upset and stressed out and fearful, and my family. And, when I learned about all of that, it was natural for me to feel fear, feel worry, and feel all sorts of emotions that were not what I wanted. And so I started asking myself, okay, what are the facts and what do I want to happen? So what are the facts? Yes, Ukraine has been bombarded. Yes, there's people dying. And yes, there's about 1 million people who have moved to Poland and other countries. And these are facts, right? Yes, Polish zloty is on record high, and that's the fact. Now, here's what comes after. What do we assume on the basis of the fact? And we equally can assume something bad, and we equally can assume something good. So, one of the things my mentor used to say was, faith and fear require you to think about something you don't see, to believe in something you don't see, and you have a choice. So I can think about, okay, there's going to be a war all over the globe, my family is in danger and whatever, the war is going to explode in Poland as well. I can be thinking this way, or I can be like literally going into my mind and manifesting peace. And so this is what I choose. So in my mind, I speak, I personally speak to something higher that I feel has higher. I love releasing things to higher powers. So you can speak to God, you can speak to universe, you can speak to your higher self or source. And I just say, thank you, God, for peace in Ukraine and for safety and health and well-being for my family, for my clients and their families. And I just roll it in my mind. Whenever my mind goes into state of fear or really like huge concern or worry, I go into what I want. I ask myself, what do I want to happen? And I start gratituding and rolling this in my mind. And then my emotional state also turns into peace. So I know maybe one me may not influence the entire universe so fast, but I really deeply believe that we can be part of collective consciousness that is feeding the worst case scenarios, or we can be part of collective consciousness that is feeding hope and peace and peaceful resolution of that. And hopefully, Polislotte, if that affects you, coming back to normal or, changing soon and quick. And so the last thing that I do that is very important for me is, I am mindful what my mind is focused on, what my mind is saturated with. And that's why it's so important for you to have a goal. If you don't have something that you deeply desire from the bottom of your heart and you don't saturate your mind with that, your mind tends to become a sponge for problems, worries, and negativity. This was very important for me during when the COVID broke out and there was so much fear and worry around the globe. I had to focus my mind on what I want and stick to it. Whatever happens outside, I stuck to my goal and I made sure I saturate my mind with that. What else do I saturate my mind with? Gratitude. I'm grateful that my family is safe. Every day I write my gratitudes. My family is safe. My family is healthy. And I'm so grateful for peace in the world. And I'm also, I make sure that I only saturate my mind with positive things. If I'm watching a movie, it's always inspirational movie, comedy, or romance. I don't watch anything that will put me in negative emotional state. If I read books, I watch inspirational movies or teaching sessions of my mentors that put me in an inspired, calm, and trusting state. And so I am very much guarding where my mind goes. And I deeply believe that when you hold peace inside, in the in all the events that are happening right now, we are also feeding solutions, and we're also not inviting terrible things into our lives around business, personal life, and so on and so forth. So let's just recap. First thing, quiet down. Whatever you can do, quiet down. So for me, it's meditation. Any meditation, any relaxation technique that can center your mind, ground yourself so that you feel calm. The second thing is, what do you want to happen? So notice the distinction between facts and what you're assuming on the basis of facts. You can go this way, that makes you feel calm, or you can go this way, that makes you feel fearful and worried. Choose wisely. And then third thing is focus. Saturate your mind with something productive and something that you really want. Ideally, your goal or something good about your life or some project that you're gonna do. Really saturate your mind with something good that is putting you in the right emotional state and the right direction. So my heart goes out to you if this issue, if the challenge in Ukraine impacts you or your loved ones. And I really do believe there's things that we can't control and there's things that we can control. So let's focus on what we can be in control of and do what we can to create more peace in the world and more goodness in our life. So I hope this helps you, and I really hope you will apply the tools and you will feel better. Thank you so much for watching. Wishing you a productive week ahead.